Good evening all. Time for a magazine review. This time we're going to be doing the Amateur Gardening, the 19th to 26th of December. It's a double issue Christmas special. There it is. And with that we get an event planner. It tells you what's on from January to December in the UK in the way of events. For instance, in January there's butterflies in the glass house. That's at RHS Wisley. Then we've got some various events. You've got the Edible Garden Show in March, RHS Flower Show Cardiff. In fact, this is really good because this is something if I can get some money coming my way, I'd love to get to these events and do a video review of them. We'll have to see what happens. So that's really good. I'm going to put that over there out of the way for a minute. In this edition we've got 3 packs of seeds. And there they are. I hope you can see that alright. I think you can. So what's this? Echinops. It's a hardy perennial. Out of the way. I've got this one here. What's that? That's a... I'm not even going to pronounce that one. So what's it? Salpiglosis. I've got that one. How great is that, eh, folks? That's a hardy perennial as well. So we've got 2 hardy perennials and 1 hardy annual. So let's have a look inside. Got the usual fruit advert. It's quite good actually. You can get 3 trees for 20 quid. So you could have like a Braeburn apple, a Victoria plum and a Conference pear. I've got all those 3. And as an extra bonus you can have a cherry, a Stella cherry and a Bramley apple, or a Bramley apple. All there for $9.99 each when you, instead of $14.99. So let's have a look. What's in flower on Christmas Day? Well, that's a funny one, isn't it? Because this year's a bit different. You know, there's already lots of reports that people got daffodils out around the country and all sorts of flowers. So on here it's saying clematis. See that there's quite a few here, but I can't pronounce the names, folks, because I'm illiterate. Wow. Just got to have a crisp, folks. I'm dying for some Walker's chicken. Right, okay. So there's a little article about the final edition of Amateur Gardening for 2015, which this is. As something goes on about escape to the garden, Ruth makes some suggestions to get out of the house and into the garden over the Yuletide holiday. Basically, there's things to do, what we mustn't forget. It does go on to say about bulbs and things, about summer bulbs, about transplanting and what have you. Now, okay, I know it's not in this magazine, but on the subject of bulbs, folks, you know how we're getting all these daffodils and different spring bulbs all coming out now? And obviously once they've been out in flower, that's it. They won't come out again, you know, in the spring. So what I suggest, if you've already got, I mean, I've kept them back because I always do, because there's always too many to put in. I've actually got lots of bulbs left over. I've got probably 200 or 300 left. And what I'm actually going to be doing over the next week or two is actually planting some more in the garden. That way, when these bulbs start flowering, which in my garden they will within the next week or so, well, I should imagine there will be, certainly next fortnight. If I put bulbs in now, they're gonna take that bit longer before they grow out, and so we should still get some in March, April time. So that's my little hint for today. I've got all crisps in my teeth now. I'm gonna be fiddling. And there's all little articles on this page. There's like hedgehogs hibernating, but somehow I don't think there will be up to now because it's been too warm. There's an article here on growing cranberries. It's not something I've grown, folks, but it might be something what I could explore. You know, I'm sure there could be avenues there with perhaps for using wine and that. Not that I've noticed any, but I bet there is. It's a whole page on it, folks. A whole page there. Let's see. There. Oh, there's one here about going green this Christmas. Turn your festive rubbish into useful garden materials. So what they're basically saying is you could add it to your compost, you know. But I'm sure you'd have to be careful because you never know what prints and that is involved, and some of it doesn't break down if it's got a gloss coat, you know, certain types, you know. So you've got to be careful with that. Sow your onions now, apparently. I did know that, actually. It tells you which onion varieties to try, and it's saying Elisa Craig, Seton AGM, Sturron AGM, Hercules AGM, and Hybrid. And just like the other magazine, they've got a whole couple of pages on festive activities, you know, doing decorations from your flowers, your plants and that, you know, either arrangements or for the kids and that, cutting out things out of photos and stuff, and using, yeah, basically making, it's right, somebody outside, but yeah, basically making decorations from photos you've taken from your allotment or your garden. And you do actually quite look, you can see that, hang on, they are, look quite good. There's a page on red currants. It says they look good, taste good, and are packed with healthy giving vitamins. I just cut mine right down, you know, folks. I'm kicking myself for it. The black currants and the red currants, because I didn't know what to do with them this year. It just fell at a time where my mum and dad, well, my mum was ill and that, and nobody wanted any, so they just went to ruin on the bush and just left the birds and that to have them. And then I cut them down to ground level. I meant to have a look to see whether they would come back. That's something I don't know whether they would or not. They've got a good root system, I know that. And it does tell you, like with red currants here, what you can make. Red currant jelly. It's quite interesting. And obviously there's pages here on how to grow your free seeds. Ask the experts, questions answered. Just gonna look, see what. Oh, here we are. Might as well read this article out. One of the questions is: my container dahlias still have green leaves and flower buds. Should I lift them now or wait? And the answer is: you could cut them back and lift the tubers to dry off before storing. If you lift the tubers, they can be stored in trays of peat or sand, somewhere frost-free. They can be replanted in early spring and moved outside when the weather warms up. Alternatively, if you have the space, put the pots somewhere dry and frost-free and leave the tubers undisturbed, letting the stems die back naturally. If you move the pots inside, let the compost dry a bit, and once the stems have died back, put the pots somewhere dark and cool. Wrap pots if temperatures drop below freezing. Right, folks. Do you remember the dahlias I had in my tunnel? I had some in there which were drying out. Now, unfortunately, some of my really big tubers have succumbed to the dampness in the tunnel, and so I've had to chuck them away. They just went all soggy and just disintegrated. But other ones in there were fine. So what I've done now is I've moved them all out and put them into the shed, where it's not going to suffer from that problem. And they're in buckets. And what I've done actually, I've got one of those metal incinerators in there, and I've actually put a load in there, because that means that they're inside there, which is inside the shed, so it should be totally frost free. And there's air cycles around there from the holes on the side, so that should be okay. They should dry out nicely. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be alright with the dahlias, but I think I'm going to have to buy some more just to make sure, because I've made these mistakes. One thing which I totally forgot about at home here, I got the dahlias in buckets and wrapped in newspaper. I left them in the polytunnel. I meant to have took them out and put them in the shed, and I didn't. And they're inside the little growing thing inside the polytunnel, and of course there's going to be dampness and that coming down. So I'm almost certain that they're going to be had it. They're just going to have mould and that. So just be careful, folks. If you've left them in your tunnels, they need to be dried out, and you need to be in a shed or inside your house somewhere frost free. Quite an interesting one here about what you can plant around a pond, the flowers, and yeah, Japanese anemones, daylilies, delicate astabe, yeah. There's a couple of pages on growing your own winter herbs. There's even a recipe to try. It says stuffing using fresh herbs. There's an article about bringing some order to your untidy compost heap. Invasive plants, that's another one. New EU hit list tackles high-risk species. I think if you've listened to my previous video on gardening news, they had the same sort of similar article about some of these plants and that were now banned. Apparently there's going to be retailers have set for poinsettia rush hour. Have I pronounced that right? I'm not sure, folks. It's that colourful leaf plant. And there's even an article in here about the daffodil confusion. It says springtime daffodils started to come up in November, claims a report from the West Country, while Cornwall often springs into bloom ahead of much of the UK. Experts are blaming above average temperatures this autumn for throwing daffs into a state of confusion. It's not just us folks in the UK. My friends who are in the States and that, they're saying the same thing. They're getting daffodils and that coming up as well. It's been so mild. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, what the world's coming to. What effect, you know, when it's all so warm. Oh, and there's award-winning news. Gardener's World gets your vote. Monty's show is series of the year for 2015. I have to confess, folks, I've never watched one. Not this year, anyway. I'll have to try and remember. I think it's just because in the evenings my parents have always got something on, and so I tend to stay in that room, and I tend to be on the computer more, and I suppose I ought to just put on one of the iPlayers or whatever, but I always forget. I got to remember. Gardening highs and lows of 2015 says we ask our favourite celebs to share their gardening successes and failures this year. So we've got Sarah Raven is discussing her stuff. There's Anne Swithinbank, and Chris Beardshaw or Nikki Preston. Say, I'm not going to read all the articles, folks, because it's not fair on the magazine. They want you to buy it, and so I'm just giving you just telling you a bit about what's in there. You've even got nearly a whole page full of about hand care gift sets. It's not something I must admit, folks, I only use soap. I don't use any moisturisers or anything like that. I think they're just a money making thing. We've never used them. My parents have never used them. Right. Oh, have we missed a page? Yes, we have. Oh, there's a great Christmas quiz here. It's a multi-choice and you've got to fill them in and then post it off. You got until the 8th of January. That's the deadline. I need another drink, folks. I'm getting thirsty. It's just thirsty work, this talking. I bet you're getting thirsty looking at all this behind me, aren't you? Is it Friday today or was it Saturday? No, it's Saturday, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, meet the gardeners of Bourneville Village. It's always interesting, isn't it, looking at other people's gardens and allotments. And some people have such beautiful sheds. There's a winter skilled workshop here. It says improve your garden and your gardening skills with these seasonal tasks. Take hardwood cuttings. There's articles here on protect bulb pots from squirrels, test soil acidity, tackle vine weevil. And the top tip for this vine weevil is effective alternative is to water the plant compost thoroughly with either Bayer Profado vine weevil killer or Scott's Miracle Grow Bug Clear Ultra Vine Weevil Killer. I won't read the actual article, that's just the alternative. There's all little articles here about reminders of Christmas past and winter retreat for birds and how we should look after those. And we've even got we've got a page here on vote for your favourite DigiPick of the year. And there's so many people here have put in provided their photos, mostly of flowers, but some of cockerels and birds nesting and what have you. What we got here? There's an article, there's a thing here, me and my shark view garden. I'm not going to go read it. You're worth buying this magazine just to see that. Can you see it, mate? Sorry. Can you see that shark in the roof? I assume it's somebody's put it there. Hang on a minute. It says Linda and David Clover's Oxford Garden takes the idea of borrowed landscape to jaws dropping heights. Oxford is a city that's famous for its dreaming spires, yet in 1986 Kenneth Road in the suburb of Harrington hit the headlines for a very different skyline. On Saturday, August the 9th, Linda and David Clover walked into the garden to be greeted by the surreal sight of a shark crashing through the roof tiles of a terrace house nearby. Oh, it was an actual shark. That's it, folks. That's basically the amateur gardening for today. There's lots of little articles what I haven't discussed. Well worth getting a read. I hope you've enjoyed that little natter, and I'll be back again soon.